If you're not dreaming in the same direction, you might be walking apart without even realizing it.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. A life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
So today we're going to talk about dreams and dreaming together and having a shared direction. And we're talking about this, or I'm bringing this up because y'all very well know, our 25th wedding anniversary will be here very shortly. And so I never sat down, I never took the time to say, hey, Kafa, let's accomplish this within 25 years of our marriage. And so I didn't know anything about vision boards and dream boards and all that type of stuff that I teach today in my everyday life, right? And so one of the things or points that I want to make before we go all the way into this idea is that when couples dream together, they can align their vision and their values. And this can create a sense of purpose beyond the day-to-day routine. It's because it's easy to grow distant when each person is chasing a separate vision. So dreaming together reminds you that you're building something together and not just surviving life. Well, here's the challenge with that. There's been a whole lot of this life. I feel like I've just been surviving and not really dreaming. I've lost it in some cases and situations. And battling depression or self-described or self-prescribed, depression or whatever it is. I really think I was at one time, whatever. And because we weren't, or I felt like we weren't always on the same page, that was difficult at times. And the challenge had been, because we had so many challenges in life, right? That it was difficult to dream. It was difficult to say, hey, I still want that $1 million house, right? But Maurice, we can't even pay the electric bill. The electricity keep going off. So sometimes being a realist or being down to earth or whatever it is can deflate that dream. And so the thing is that I've learned recently is to share a little bit more of that dream, but also explain to Kafa some of the background of it. Also, because we just talked about this most recently within the last, let's say 3 or 4 months, of really like what was the origin of that dream and what has influenced and what might have changed over a period of time. And so I've really been able to share a little bit more deeply about what my dream life was or is or whatever it could have been. I think those are some of the things that for those of you out there who have big dreams and aspirations, I think it's important for you to share it.
I would say share it with someone that you care for, not just the average person sitting at the bus stop. You can share with the lady, the gentleman at the bus stop. They may have the time to listen to you. But when you share it with someone that you care about, that you want to be a part of that dream, whether it's 5 years from now or 25 years from now, it makes a bit of a difference because they can become accountability partner with you, helping you to realize that dream. So it's not just a dream, that it becomes more than that, that it becomes an action plan. What steps are you taking to get there? And I think that's the next step in things is like, hey, once you have that conversation of, here's what I dream of, my Barbie dream house, type situation, okay, well, how do you get to that lifestyle? How do you get to that dream? How do you get to that dream job, that dream house? I have my dream man. I have my, two kids and, white picket fence and, whatever it might be that your dream is. But those other things that you're looking for, how do you get those things? And then how does it align, and how does your partner or those in your circle, how do they assist you with that? From just when you do something off and you're like, hey, that doesn't align with your dream. Like, that is that helping you get to that point, or is it taking away from it? So I think that's, some of the key things of, as we get older, I think we've stopped dreaming a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
But and in some ways we don't, because instead of saying dream, it becomes a goal. I have a goal to get another job. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm dreaming that I get a new job, because sometimes dreaming seems so
fantasy-like
right.
to me.
Yeah. Like, like little kid-like. And I can dream of something big and not so surreal. But when I have it as a goal, when I make it, because with the goal, then I have to come up with steps to get there. I feel like it can't just be a goal, because then it's just a dream. So when you have a goal and you write that down and you come up with how you're going to get there, so yes, you can have a vision board of what you vision your life to be like. But with all of that, well, how do you get to those things?
Mm-hmm.
What are the steps to get you there? To think of the $1 million house. Well, how are you getting that?
Right.
Are you working towards it, or is it just gonna fall in front of you one day?
Right. And so I'm gonna be honest with you. For all of you that's out there, see, I realized that for me, my dream wasn't 100% built on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, for me to even sit down and try to even explain it to Kafa was very difficult, because it wasn't mine. Mm-hmm. It was, I wasn't the originator of it. And so, and sometimes, like you said, from a kid perspective, even though I dream of, again, the $1 million house, but what steps? Because a kid doesn't always know all the steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in a kid space, I don't know the steps, but I might also give up at certain points as well. Like I see him like, hey, shiny new object mentality, but how do I get to that point? Am I naive enough to ask questions? Sometimes as kids might do. You might be too shy or way too outspoken as a kid, whatever, right? But then as adults, sometimes we become a little bit more guarded, I believe.
Yeah.
And so with that, and then
a little more cautious.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think for myself, I believe for myself that I had started to become a lot more cautious, a lot more guarded, and not wanting to share because of other family challenges, right? And that dream starts to look further and further away. And it wasn't always about what was going on with Kafa and I. Sometimes it was the surrounding circle, that kind of helps to deflate that dream as well. And so, and that's the other thing we don't always keep in mind. What are the influences that are around us? Are they really supporting us or not? Are they taking away the energy from you? Or are they supplying you energy? Now, or is there a fair shake going both ways? And sometimes we don't know that,
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to sit here and say, well, Kafa, I dream about this $1 million house. And she was like, one, I'm skeptical of us being able to get there because of our bill situation. And number two, boy, won't you tell me? She won't say boy, but you could kind of tell with her, I grew up in the hood, shaking in the neck eyeball looking, vibe. But I understand the situation though, because how can you, if you were to ask me that question and I can't explain it to you, and then I say something to you about it again, and then I can't explain it to you. So by the third or fourth or fifth time, by the time I say that, you're like really like, all right, dude, you're just talking, right? And I could kind of understand that now that we're older, right? And now I have way more experiences and understanding of whatever it is, and so how can you trust a situation? How can you even trust a dream for it to turn into a goal, right? But you don't have a plan in place. And sometimes I think those are the things that kind of deflate the situation, and it's the idea of, hey, write it down, make it plain, right? Write the vision board. So I can take the house and I've gone to open houses and taken a house and put it up on a board and put it up on a wall, but I still don't have the real plan in place to get to that point though. And so can she really dream with me if I don't have a plan? That's kind of hard to do.
I mean, I think we were there, though. Again, think back to the times when we were dating and we would walk around Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever it was, and which is a big box store that sells home goods and building supplies for homes. And we would say, oh, yeah, this marble countertop, and I would like this type of kitchen and, this type of shower, in the bathroom and, soaker tub and these types of, we would just walk around and think about those types of things, not knowing it was going to be $1 million home, but we were just picking out items of what we think we would like. So we were dreaming at that particular time. Fast forward several years later, we're married, we have kids, and we do our cheap date night of going to IKEA. Drop the kids off at Smallland, and then we would, have alone time, the two of us, walking around IKEA and, dreaming like, hey, if we could refurnish the entire house, what would we pick? Not what's in our budget, but just what, if we could just get anything. We went on one of these TV shows, because back in those days, they'd always have these TV shows like, hey, here's your house is being totally redone, or, hey, you have an hour to do all your shopping real quick, pick it out now. So, if we walked in the store and somebody said, hey, what are you going to get? What will we pick out? So we dreamed in that manner of what furniture we wanted or what fixtures we wanted in the home. I think it became recent where, like you said, hey, we started going to $1 million open houses and seeing what that looks like. And now with technology and social media and whatnot, we can see those things on YouTube or other things on the internet and kind of see what some of the larger homes are and whatnot. So kind of get that dream there. But in reference to, as Maurice is saying, how do you get to that point? Like, how do you afford that $1 million home? Where is it going to be? Is it, going to be in Iceland, or is it going to be, in warm land? Don't know all of those things. So again, the dream wasn't a goal. It wasn't, put in stone to reality to say, as Maurice said, hey, by year 25, I want us to be here. This is our goal. By the time, we're at retirement age, this is where, I want us to be and for us to live. And let's dream about that. Let's fantasize about that. Let's make that a goal and move towards it. And I think that makes the marriage and makes the relationship so much stronger. When you look at other relationships, such as in the workplace, you do that at work when you have your annual review. Hey, what are your goals for this year? What are things that you want to work on? What are things that I want you to work on as a supervisor? What do we need to work on as a team, as a unit? And everybody works towards that goal. You're looking at me. Go ahead.
No, and I'm listening to you. I'm looking at the similarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that because a lot of times we don't view our experiences in the same light,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're like, hey, that's one hat, pick up another hat, right? But it's the same mentality,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And we did that a few times in our relationship where we kind of evaluated each other's work habits and work within the business type of a thing, and not so much on the relationship husband and wife, but we certainly kind of gave ourselves an annual review when it came to being work partners.
But see, I think in that though, see, when you're able to respect
Mm-hmm.
the other person's viewpoint, right? Because a lot of times, we go into the annual review with our supervisor, and the supervisor says, hey, the highest number I can give you is a 5, but I'll give you a 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you're like, well, no, I did 5 work. Like, don't you know how much work I did? I did that. Well, I only gave you a 3. Well, here's the challenge, though. I have zero idea what you value in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I think that if I'm at work and I think I gave impeccable customer service, but that one time when I floundered a little bit because I really had gas, right? Or I ate something crazy for lunch and my stomach wasn't the greatest.
Or you're just looking at the customer service, but the supervisor's looking at customer service, timeliness, effectiveness, the quality of the work, like all these other things, your team work, your team spirit, your leadership skills. And you're like, I'm not even a leader. I just come here and answer phones. Well, they're looking at how well you're doing with when we bring a new employee in. What interaction did you have with the new employee? Well, you ain't telling me I had to do anything. But still, these are things that we're looking at and that you're getting, quote unquote, graded on.
But I'm not a team leader.
Right.
You won't let me be a team leader.
But you are a team leader because we brought a new employee
But
in.
you won't let me
You didn't
be
even
that.
say good morning. You know what I mean?
I ain't got time to talk.
So it's all of those things that,
I had bubble gum in my mouth.
and you shouldn't have bubble gum in your mouth. And, why you get a 3. You know what I mean? So again, we're looking at the one piece and not looking at the entire part of the way that a supervisor would. And I can only say that because I've been in some supervisory positions, and it's just like people came to me and was like, well, and I'm like, well, I can't give you a 5 if I had to write down that you were late 5 times.
But see, here's the thing. I mean, and I totally understand that because I've been on both sides of that.
Right.
And so the reality is that I could still give you a 4 or a 5 to help boost your ego,
Mm-hmm.
right? But are you willing to also hear where you've gotten a 1?
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather give you a 3 across the board than to say, like back in the day in school when we used to have the Scantron things, we had to fill in the bubbles, right?
Yes.
And sometimes, like A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, whatever it is, especially when you don't know the test. So instead of me giving you a report that looks like that, to some degree, it's better for me to give you 3s across the board because of they all kind of balance each other out, right? And so again, we don't always understand the rubric, the metric, or whatever it is that helps to do that. And so when the time comes for our relationship, right? So what am I really gauging the situation on? And those are the type of things that we don't always, again, don't understand.
Right.
So i.e., if I grew up without my father, I didn't have my father for 16 years, right? 14 years, whatever it might have been, right? He wasn't in my life at all. But Kafa, your father was with you throughout, right? Whether he was there every day with you or whether he was there with you whenever you saw him, because now I'm a teenager and I'm doing my teenage things or whatever it is, but the reality is that your father was there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at the point where he was like, when I say I was trying to marry you, like, I finally got my boy, whatever, right? We can finally go in the park and play some football. And that's a true story. And so when you have that, so what is the value? What are you looking for in a relationship? Because of, again, what is the value, or what experience that you have by having both your parents in your life, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so again, you get to see those type of things. You get to hear those type of things of those, because those are your first people that you have the closest relationship with. Everybody, your parent is your first relationship, right? And so what do you gain from that? Where do you grow from that? Where do you see from that? And I know y'all been hearing me say this for a while. Like, I keep going back to this because these are the type of things that influences us. And then when we're ready to grow up and we're ready to say, hey, you know what? We want this $1 million house. Well, sometimes that influences why you want $1 million house.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you already lived in one, whether the dream was to get into one, or a family member has talked about, whatever the situation might have been, whatever your dream house was. And granted, $1 million is a round number. It's not necessarily the house that I want to be in. It's just a round number. And so, and then especially in today's economy, if you really want a nice house, you got to start off at $1 million, unfortunately. And when I say nice for me is what is the ideal or the idea that I have. As Kafi said, white picket fence, right? Well, because well,
nowadays, not white picket, but what's
it won't be a white picket. It'll be
the black fence.
The black fence.
The wrought iron type.
Oh, wrought iron.
Yeah, type fences.
Oh no, it could be just pressure treated wood.
But I just want something that lets people know this is where my property starts.
But the thing is, again, like I said, that's a round number. Can you find a nice house under that? Yes, you can. And have we been in that place?
It's in Iceland.
Yes, you can. Yeah, right. But the reality is that, again, what is your value?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that you would like to do and to achieve, and what's going to help you feel better about yourself to say, you know what, in my YOLO moment, I got to my point, right? And can I really have this and achieve this with the one that I love the most? And so I love, I cherish, I adore, whatever, words that you would like to use. Can you both get there to that together? And I think that's where the understanding to your job analogy of an annual review, can I take it when the person that I love says, you ain't doing a good job? Am I able to get over that hurt and understand, like, no, they're really just trying to make me better?
But again, if what we're talking about is your dreams, and are you dreaming together? So again, if the dream is the same and we sit down and we do a review and I'm like, hey, do we really get closer to that dream? That's all the review is. It's saying,
but that still comes down to.
So it's not necessarily me saying you didn't do good. It's just me saying, let's be real.
Is you saying we ain't getting there today?
Yes.
Right? Which can be a heartbreaker.
It can be, but it's the reality is if you look back at what you have done yourself, can you say, oh yeah, we're multiple steps closer to our dream?
Can I say? I mean, today? Can I say it today?
No, I'm just saying, like in this example that we're giving, I don't want it to be like, oh, the person that's doing the evaluation is bringing forth the bad news. No, you as an adult doing your own self-evaluation, as Maurice says, looking at the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror and doing a true evaluation, like, are you truly getting closer to that dream? What are you bringing forth to make that dream a reality? Because it's a dream that you and your partner pulled together. Are you really able and working towards making it better? And it doesn't take your partner to say that. You should know that for yourself.
Well, sometimes, in certain situations we're delusional. We're delulu. Right? Because of and some of you, I don't know if y'all listen to That'll Never Work podcast, but
please do. It's great. I've listened to it.
Thank you very much. Also, she speaks on there as well. But some of the things when I talk to other entrepreneurs or whatever it is, sometimes we have to understand that there are winners and losers in life and situations, right? Mm-hmm. And so what is the effort that you're putting in to become a winner, and understand that there has to be a loser? And even if you are the first loser, you're actually still a winner because you learned something, right? And sometimes we don't always understand that because of the culture that we're kind of in, everybody wins. But that's not always true, right? Everyone doesn't get the trophy. No. Everyone can't take home the trophy, right? And a lot of people have that in their mind, like, hey, I just threw my name in the hat and I can get the trophy. Well, guess what, y'all? That doesn't happen that way. Yes, That Will Never Work podcast is an award-winning podcast. We won an award, right? The NoFruitPodcast has a nomination, but didn't win. Now, what does that mean? But what does that mean for us, though? That means for me that I got to step my game up in order to get to that point. Now, does it mean that...
But everybody doesn't get nominated either. So
right.
You have to... I think that's the part that you're getting at is everyone didn't get nominated. It wasn't like, hey, every podcast in the whole entire, world received a nomination. No. So... Yes, hang your hat on the fact that, hey, you were nominated. It's like, the...
And I can say for myself, that is 100% correct. You know why? Because for that same award that we got a nomination for, I put in for the other two podcasts, and neither one of them got nominated, right? So I know for a fact that is true. You can't just, so everybody is not going to just because we throw in the hat or whatever it is, everyone is not going to win, And so I think those are the things that when it comes to this situation of, hey, you know what? I could be putting forth what I perceive as the best effort in this relationship, but you know what? I can put a little bit more. I had to confess to Kafi the other day, in all honesty, that there were some things that I was not putting 100% effort into. I told her up front. But see, some of that, though, is not until I take a real look at myself and I go like, all right, Kafa, here's the reality. And this is the reason why X, Y, and Z, right? We wanted this desired outcome, but we didn't get to that desired outcome because I didn't put forth enough effort. And why is that? Because I had other challenges that I had to overcome. So I think all these things right here are opportunities for us to continue to grow and continue to overcome these challenges. And again, Kafa, I think that job analogy is the best because, we get annual reviews.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's good to look at dreams as goals. And if you analyze and review whether or not you're getting closer to your goal, and that's, a great way to go. So I hope you all are doing that. Take a little bit of this advice that we've given to you today and try it out. And then let us know how it's going, if it's working. If you tweak some things, change it up a little bit, let us know. But certainly sit down with your spouse, your partner, your kids, and figure out what your goals are. What goals do you have together in mind? And work towards those. Thank you all so much for listening, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. We hope today's discussion left you feeling uplifted, encouraged, and ready to take on life's journey with purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. You can catch up on past episodes, send us your thoughts, or learn more about us on social media. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you next time.